Business is all about math. Hi, I'm Brian Pombo. Welcome back to Brian J. Pombo Live. We have, there was a story I'm reminded of. There was a supervisor that needed to hire someone real quick. And so he had a whole bunch of resumes. He had like 300 resumes. And he went to his assistant and said, here's what we're going to do. I need you to take the top 50 out of this pile. Just the top ones sitting on the top of the pile. Just count out the top 50. Take the rest, throw them away. We're just going to call these people and go off of that. And the assistant said, well, what do you mean? We're going to throw away 250 resumes? I mean, what if the best candidates are in there? You haven't even looked at them yet. And he said, well, you got a good point, but I don't need anybody with bad luck. You know, and it brings out, that idea brings out, well, we go a whole lot of directions, but the thing that spoke to me about that is math. Whether you're talking about hiring somebody, whether you're talking about bringing on new clients or customers, whether you're talking about vendors or partners or anything having to do with business, business is all about people. And to find the best people for the best spots in your business, regardless of what that is, whether it's someone you're working with directly or whether it's somebody that's you're hiring as a customer, okay? No matter what, there's going to be better and worse and everybody in between in terms of quality, in terms of what you're looking for from that person. You know, a high quality customer is going to be less of a headache. They're going to be willing to spend more. They're going to have more interest in whatever the product or service is that you provide. They're going to be more happier. They're going to be less likely to complain. You know, they are going to be a good fit for what you've got. Okay, that's just an example. And there's a spectrum, no matter what. No matter what you're talking about, any human being that you want to work with, there's going to be a spectrum in terms of being really high end, in terms of how you were considered. These are all relative terms, right? There's no high end people. There's people that there's certain qualities you're looking for, and there's certain qualities you are not looking for. And there's going to be a spectrum of everybody in between from one extreme to the next. How do you get to your best case scenario when you're dealing with people, whether you're looking to hire somebody or what have you? How do you do that? Simple. It's math. It's pure math, pure statistics. You need to go through more people. And there's a whole lot of math to business, a whole lot. I mean, you go on and on about the types of situations you get into where you have to know at least some real basic math. You got to know how to multiply, divide, add, and subtract. I mean, if you've got those down, you're well on your way. And this is a simple concept, is if you're looking for the best case scenario, you have to test a whole lot of people. Now, sometimes that test is nothing more than going through applications. Sometimes that test is taking your customer through an application process too. Sometimes that test is doing interviews. Depending on which point, the more people you can have going through and the more funnels you can have, especially if they're automated, any type of funneling mechanism that can allow you to decide as quickly as possible, is this a good fit or not a good fit? It's in the best interest in everybody involved. It's not going to be in anyone's interest to do any work with you whatsoever, whether buying your product or working with you. It's not in their best interest to be there if they're not a good fit. So we're not hurting anybody by doing this. All we're doing is we're finding people who are the right fit for all the spots that you have in your ideal business. And that comes down to numbers. It comes down to more and more and more. And this, when we talk about sales and the thought pattern of a salesperson or a person involved in marketing, there's always this argument back and forth of whether, you know, going through a bunch of numbers, whether you should do that or not. I don't see any way around it. You've got to go through numbers. We had a little bit of this discussion with Ari Galper when he was on this show. When I interviewed him, you can go back in the archives and take a look at that. Ari Galper is a person that teaches sales mindset for salespeople and for people building sales organizations. And I agree with a whole lot of what he says. One of the things he spends a lot of time doing is he says that if you're focused too much on numbers, you're not focused enough on quality of technique and quality of what you're actually trying to do. And I completely agree with that. On the same end, you still need numbers. You still need to squeeze as many numbers as possible. It's time consuming, yes. And that's where quality of technique comes in. Quality of process matters, because that makes the time window shorter. You don't have to spend as many man hours and so forth trying to get the same end. But no matter what, if you want quality on the other end of things, if you want the best customers, if you want the best staff, you got to go through a lot of numbers. You got to squeeze through. You got to test people out, even to the very end, to where you're ready to hire. You've got to be willing to test people for a period of time. Have a probationary period where, hey, we're going to see if we're going to be a good fit or not. And you do that with enough people so that you know you're getting the best case scenario. Your money's going to a person that's got a great fit, and they're going to stick with you long term, or as long as you're wanting them to stick, right? So this is a concept that is extremely simple, but most business owners get caught up in all the detail. Don't get caught up in the detail. It's numbers. It's math. Math. If you want the best case scenario, you're going to have to go through a lot of numbers to reach those people, to reach the ideal. It's statistics. And that's just one example of how math fits into business. And I talk about this a lot. We hit on it a lot of different angles in our other discussions. So watch some of the other discussions regarding this. Tomorrow I am going to hit on the other major element that you have to have when it comes to having business. It doesn't matter what type of business it is. Same with the math situation. It doesn't matter what type of business you have. If you need more of anything, you are going to need numbers, lots of numbers, and that's a mathematical issue. Tomorrow I'm going to talk about the other major issue that you got to pay attention to. So tune back in for that. If you haven't caught my book yet either, get 9 Ways to Amazon Proof Your Business. It's all about how to overcome competition. Go grab a copy at Amazon.com or get your own free digital copy at AmazonProofBook.com. We'll be back tomorrow night. Like I said, we got a whole nother issue to talk about. In the meantime, get out there and let the magic happen.